I always tell women too that, one of the beautiful things is even when you start and you don't have the clients, you can trade, you can find other sources,
Right.
you can find very inexpensive help. But I think this is where the expectations and control comes into. And
Yes.
for so many women, it's that illusion of having control. They become their own bottleneck.
Welcome, everyone, to Her Table, Her Rules. I'm Juliet Peters, your host, and I'm super thrilled today to have Olenka Cullinan here. And Olenka has had a really interesting trajectory to where she is at now. So explain kind of how you started and how you've evolved your business.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing, what you're focused on now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Olenka Cullinan. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called iStartFirst, designed for women business owners to gain their time back while they're simultaneously building their business and scaling to the next level. I also work with mid-sized companies specifically on scale and operation, really strategy of scale. And I do have a very interesting kind of trajectory of how I got there, because my mom was a CEO of a company for 37 years and I worked with her since I was 14. So I'm pretty sure she never allowed me a chance to do anything else other than becoming an entrepreneur. And I initially launched a different kind of company for teens, which was called Rising Tycoons. And we took the kids, taught them how to make ideas marketable, and it was almost like a miniature version of Shark Tank. Proceeded to exit that company. I sold the IP to Discovery Education, and then, realized that I really saw that women do business quite a bit differently than men. And about 2018 is when I made that switch and decided to make iStartFirst my first priority, sort of by accident, because I started speaking to women and using hashtag iStartFirst. And they kept saying, what else is there? What is there more? And that's how it evolved into now full-blown business.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I think that, the statistics are really clear. Women are starting businesses at twice the rate of men.
Correct.
And yet, right, the downside is we're capped, right? We're capping ourselves. We're capping each other. I don't know why it's capped, but it is, the rarefied air over 7 figures is 1.9%, teeny tiny. And even 6 figures is only about 4%, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of people stuck in the middle, right? That can't quite make it up to the $1 million mark. So from where you sit, what is it that you think are the building blocks for a woman-owned business that we need to kind of put in place in order to really get to the point where we're financially sustaining ourselves at the level that we should be?
Yeah, I love that question. I love it. It's 2 things. And one, you're not going to be surprised because it's you, and I know your trajectory. One is audacity, for sure. And I think one thing that we know about women is we're very nurturing and loving and kind and sweet and supportive. But when it comes to running a business, there's a whole idea behind audacity and taking a risk, where women tend to kind of falter back a little bit. I think it's because of the upbringing and the culture, because we have been sort of brought into the idea of you need to, be ready, be super ready, have everything perfect. And it's never perfect. I tell women all the time, you birth children. It's about the ugliest, most intense, ridiculous process in the world. And we make it okay. Yeah. We literally are responsible for humans. Yeah. So when you birth a business, it's no different, right? And so that's piece one. But in terms of building blocks, where I see women stall is quite a bit. And again, I think it's the nurturing and the loving and the kind is systems. Women are really, really great at aesthetics. We're fabulous at ideas. We're great at solving problems and kind of driving the world forward. But I think women really struggle where it comes to clear-cut finances, numbers, systems, the backend, the not such cool, sexy part of your operation. And I think that's what saved me, because my mom saved me and propelled me, really, because my mom was really good about that. She was saying, you can have the most beautiful idea in the world, but if you don't have the backend to support it, it's never going to scale to the level you want it.
You are on to something here. Let's dive into that a little bit, because I think the lack of systemization and also the lack of really understanding the numbers and the levers that really drive the business forward is critical. The good news is on that, right, is that is absolutely learnable.
Oh, so much so.
Right?
So much so. Yeah.
Right.
And the truth, I love that you brought that up, because that's what I say to women. Like, it's a lot harder to pull and birth a good idea. The idea that's marketable, that idea that's serving a niche, that's solving a problem, that's driving some kind of good in the world. But yet somehow they get stuck. And I think where you brought that, I love the point you made about the $1 million mark for women. I think that's the main jump.
Yeah.
Because at 6 figures or close on your way to 6 figures, you can get there accidentally.
Yeah.
To get to the $1 million mark,
intentional.
It has to be intentional. It has to be systematized. It has to be optimized. And most importantly, it has to be delegated.
Okay, let's talk about that too. We're hitting all the highlights. So one of the things, and I am guilty, all these things I'm saying, I've been guilty of, right?
Yes.
The delegation piece is so tricky for women. It's very fraught, because I think we want to be seen and are more collaborative people, generally speaking. Collaboration is awesome, but there's a downside to that. You can't collaborate on everything in your business if you're in charge of your business, right? You also can't do everything in your business and expect it to grow, right?
Right. And especially that grow from to 7 figures.
Right. Exactly. So how do you sort of get rid of the scaries around delegation? Because you will not scale beyond a certain point if you do not delegate.
Yeah, it's I think such, again, where the nurture comes in, because I'm going to share a very interesting article that I saw that was published by Inc. magazine a few years ago. And what they said is men do incredibly well growing their business at the beginning and don't do so well when they grow the business with their teams. Women are actually the opposite. But the problem is very few women to get to the team level, because they want to make sure they provide, they want to make sure they support, they want to make sure they nurture, they want to make sure they're 50,000% ready before they bring that one person, because we have such sense responsibility. It's almost like mothery in us, where we need to make sure, if I bring this one VA, if I bring this one salesperson, like, I got them for life. Right. And that's how women look at business. But I so appreciate the fact that you also are pointing that out. You have to delegate when you scale, and you're going to guaranteed to make mistakes. So you just have to accept the fact that not everyone on your team is going to work out. Right. I'm just going to tell you this now. Yeah. And it's not my line, but right, we all know that. Hire slow, fire fast. You also have to understand these are not your children. This is not your baby. These are not your family. Do we want culture that feels family, humane, all the things? Absolutely. Right. But these are not going to be your family, right. And you do not have that forever responsibility over them. So you have to treat it accordingly. And then the other piece is you just have to accept that you will not be the perfect leader at the beginning. You are going to make mistakes, and people are going to be human about it,
Yeah, one of the things you pointed out that I think is really a point to kind of stop and think about, which is that research that indicated that, men don't do as good with teams. And so that's one of the things I would say is women do have that inherent, they have it, but it's that fear just of hiring the very first, it's like a muscle. You got to hire the first one. Yeah. You almost got to fire the first one. Right. You have to understand, rinse and repeat. Right. And you get better at it over time, Absolutely. And I think, one of the frustrations I've had in my business over the last few years is I've started to use a little bit more fractional kind of help. Mm-hmm. And one of the upside is it allows you to really you can have a chief marketing officer, for example, in a small business by utilizing fractional help. That's all good. That kind of a strategy person. But on some of the lower level roles, when you reach for the fractional help or outsourced help, it's really tough to build culture with those people.
1000%. And I think that's why it becomes even harder for women, because the second the lower levels fail, they're like, oh, I'm good. I'll just go right back to doing it all by myself. I don't need no help. Do I look like I need help, right? And so that's the hardest part.
Exactly.
Because you have to be willing to delegate $2 tasks.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in those forever.
Right.
And you have to be willing to bet big on some people that are going to completely change your business. You and I both are no strangers to coaching and mentorship. Right. So we understand. And I think that's where a lot of women almost get burned at that lower level. And because they can't create that nurturing aspect, that really big camaraderie, friendly culture, they're like, I'm never going to bring the CMO. Right. I'm never going to bring the strategist. I'm never going to bring the mentor. So it's like, I tell them, it's like this duct tape version of their business where they're trying to plug and play, but it will never get you to 7 figures.
That is I really think we've identified something here on that lower level piece, because I think that is where most women start, with a virtual VA, with whatever, a lower level task base, because of course the highest and best value in your business is not that, right? So that is what you should be offboarding, things that you don't like, when I first started my business, I didn't have any clients. I started from ground zero, but also I was like, I am not doing my own bookkeeping. I am not good at that. I mean, I'm good at reading and analyzing my financials, but I'm not good at the doing of that, right? Spreadsheets and we have a fraught relationship. So I love a good spreadsheet to read it. I don't want to be the one doing the formula in the top, right? So, but I knew that early on, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to make enough money to cover that on a monthly basis, even if that means I'm not going to take what I want to take out of the business initially. So I think, but I do think starting at those lower level employees, and when you're burned once, twice, 3 times a lady, because it does happen, right? You're like, no, I'm never going to do it again. And you're right. You're like, I'll take that back. I do it really well. I could do it in my sleep.
Right.
But that's a trap.
Yeah, it's I use the phrase suffering is optional. Yes. And it's unfortunately because we as women, we put ourselves in those places so much. And I'm with you. I outsourced the accounting very early on. Yeah. I'm fine. I can look at company's finances, my own finances, but I really don't want to do the nitty gritty of it daily.
Exactly.
And so I always tell women too that, one of the beautiful things is even when you start and you don't have the clients, you can trade, you can find other sources, you can find very inexpensive help. But I think this is where the expectations and control comes into. We do have to talk about the C word, and for so many women, it's that illusion of having control that basically prevents them they become their own bottleneck.
Yes, I have been my own bottleneck.
Me
I'm
too.
free to admit that, right?
Both hands.
So, but yeah, okay. So let's talk about the C word, control, because that's a pretty hard lesson. Yes. And I think a lot of women are starting businesses in the areas they have mastery in. And so you're going to give that up. I mean, I was just talking to somebody earlier who bought a business, and she was, the CFO for a long time, right? And she just, after having worked in the business for 35 years total, after just buying it 5 years ago, she just hired her replacement.
And
so
I see that all the time, honestly, especially with those women who are at that teeter-tatter. I almost say the closer they are to that first million, the harder it is to pry it out of their hands because they're like, I crawled, clawed, and ran my way here. I am planning to cross the finish line,
Yeah.
and I have to be the bad guy who sits there, the bad gal who sits there and explains that this is exactly what's holding you
Yeah.
from that finish line, because, and it's scary. Do I understand that it's scary? But it's like you said, it's like a muscle. Fear
Yeah.
is nothing else but just changing places, changing situations, going there with intention, and giving up that control may cost you a few things, but on the big picture, under the big vision, it's definitely going to propel you way faster than anything else.
Yeah. And it really, even if you don't own, if you're not at the place where you own your own company yet, even when you're employed in an organization,
For sure.
that can become a trap where you don't, you're not able to do that, because I think then you're not viewed, in a higher leadership level, which is really ultimately what you're likely wanting to do.
1000%.
Right.
And I agree with you, because I see that all the time. Those mid-sized companies growing, women are great at management. And the minute you get close to C-suite, this is where the growth stops, because so many of them, even if they have the teams, still somehow try to pull the major weight by themselves. And that's one thing. I think this is one thing that men are almost conditioned to do faster. They're like, how do I jump, ladder to ladder to ladder? They don't care who they're carrying. Like, they're not carrying anybody if they're okay with. And they're going to rely on every help imaginable. And so with women, again, because there's so much nurture and love and that conditioning, a lot of times they're hanging on so much to, I can do it, I got this, right? Like, I got this, women's favorite line of all times. I see it in corporate all the time.
I see it all the time.
Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah. You and millions of other women.
Yeah.
I hear that daily. I see it on my text messages with women where they're like, I got this. I'm like, do you really? But absolutely. In the corporate career, I think that's exactly kind of that invisible ceiling a lot of times that holds women back.
So I could really talk to you all day, because this has just been a phenomenal conversation. But tell me if you had to observe in your own clients and in just the day-to-day work that you've done, if you had to give women two pieces of advice, right, about how they can navigate the growth of their business or even their own personal growth in their career, what would you say?
Two things. One, get rid of all the $2 tasks out of your calendar.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's your sister, your mother, your girlfriend, your pregnant friend who's just at home and she wants a few hours. Give it all away.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Yes, they're not going to do it like you because they're not you. So accept the fact and give it away. And then piece two, get help early. I almost killed my first business until I brought my mentor on board for the same exact reason, where I was, with my prying, shaking hands, handing out to that business and not bringing everyone on board until she came in and gave me actually the big vision behind it. And I had to learn it myself. So I would say, yes, the earlier you can, I don't care if it's a mentor, but obviously bring help from a mentor coaching position with people you want to be like.
Yeah.
Right. It's because there's no shortage of coaches in the world.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to find someone that you admire, that you want to be like, and these are the people you want to mentor you.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of coaching. I've been doing quite a bit of coaching myself my whole sort of career. Now I might be doing it a little bit more for a business, but I mean, I am a utilizer of that, because I think, and even before I could, really put resources there, I was always looking for that mentorship, personal development, whatever. I'm the queen of the free training. I understand coaches use it to get business, but I like the free training. I always if free training is available, I'm going to take it. Right.
Absolutely.
So I agree with you that accessing help at state, and that can look different. It's not one size all the time. Like you might need, a coach for communication at this point, and you might need somebody who can really help you on scalability at a different part of your business. But it really is important to have somebody, because we are in our heads all day long. So.
All the time. And I agree with you. There's so many varieties of what's available. So go accordingly. I haven't been without a coach for 9 years, and I proudly state that. I'm always, just like you, learning something and multiple different opportunities, because I'm a big believer in shortcuts.
Yeah.
time is one thing we can never get back.
That's
so
true.
to me, the faster I can get there, the better it is.
Absolutely. So if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Very easy. It's iStartFirst.com, just like my hashtag. Everything is on the website. There's some freebies, free trainings. And then obviously by my name, Olenka Cullinan, if you reach out to me on any social media, I'm primarily on LinkedIn and Instagram under my name. It's going to be me and not bot responding to you.
All right. Awesome. Olenka, thank you so much for your wisdom today. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in to Her Table, Her Rules. And we'll see you next time. Click the button and subscribe.